Hey everybody. Today I'm going to share some teachings that have been really profound in my life and have really made a huge difference in really changing what I'm broadcasting to the world in terms of poverty versus prosperity consciousness. When I started taking pranic healing years ago, one of the most important things that we really acquired was the ability to scan with our hands. So using our hands as measuring tools to scan how our actions affect energetic centers in the body, how it affects our aura. And that way, it was really amazing because my teacher said, here are the teachings. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you need to believe them. I'm not going to tell you you have to follow me, anything like this. It was just like, here's the teachings, go home and try them out and see what they do. Do they work? If they do, great. If they don't, toss it. See for yourself. So I'm saying the same thing to you. Everything that I'm sharing here, just go see for yourself. So back then, I remember my teacher saying, we were in a group of people, and she said, okay, everybody, I want you to scan your level of prosperity consciousness. Kind of looking around. At the time, I'd left my corporate job and was living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out how to be of service to the world, but didn't really know or really believe in myself much at the time. So I was kind of scrambling and didn't feel so abundant myself. So of course, I make my finger mini me and I scan for prosperity consciousness, and I'm not feeling anything. So of course I started to feel some shame. I started to feel some fear. But what I really love about it, it's a reality check. A lot of times, how do I say this? Some people will come to ayahuasca retreats. They'll come to meditation retreats, yoga retreats over the years. And I've seen people walk in believing that they have something, But with pranic healing, you can scan and see, is that energy actually there? No. So we're living in illusion that we're actually carrying something that we're not. And sometimes it's really, not sometimes, all the time, it's actually great to have that reality check. Back in the day, I remember once my teacher saying, okay, everybody check their grounding cord. I thought, I'm grounded. And she scanned in front of the room. She goes, Safa, what's the matter with you? Why aren't you grounded? And it was like, I felt shame at the time, but at the same time, I was grateful to find someone who could actually see through my bullshit. To be honest, I was happy that there was a way to actually look for something truthfully rather than what I wanted to believe in myself that wasn't actually reality. So in terms of abundance, the root center, when we don't feel abundant, when we're afraid about where our money's going to come from to pay the bills, the root center is quite small. It can be completely shut. It can be really, really fine. So there's not a lot of powerful, strong energy there. And as soon as we go into fear about where things are going to come from, it's like a feedback loop. So it shrinks it further and shrinks it further and shrinks it further. And then what happens, we start to broadcast this poverty consciousness. We start to broadcast fear, whether we're aware of it or not. Even if what we're saying is one thing, what people are feeling around us is completely different. So say we want to draw opportunities to us. We want to team up with people to do work. We could talk a good game, but people are always going to sense the truth around us. And if we're broadcasting that grasping underneath, they're going to feel it. And they're not going to feel super safe around us. So we're actually pushing away these opportunities from the fear, even if we're not conscious of it, even if our heart, we really want this, but there's something underlying that people are feeling. So how do we break it? I remember my teacher saying, Safa, you imagine you've got $5 in your hand and you're holding onto that $5 super tight. What happens when there's 20s? Hundreds falling around your hand, but your hand's so tight you can't reach out to grab them. She goes, well, this is kind of what poverty consciousness is like. So she said, that $5 today, I want you to put it in this box. And it was like a tithing box for our center. And she said, I want you to put it in, and then I want you to let it go. And at the time, which is crazy, I think about it now, I actually, maybe it was $5 or $10, something like this, but I remember feeling almost a little bit like, oh, that's bus money, ooh, Crazy now that I think about it, but this is where I was at the time. It meant something to me. And that's what it means. The tithe should mean something to you. It should be ooh, a little bit of fluttering to give it away. So she said, when you put it in the box, I want you to do this. I want you to put your hands in prayer, and I want you to pick a highly developed being in the underworld. So it could be, let's say, the Green Tara. So she said, I want you to say this. In the name of the Green Tara, I tithe this money so that it will come back to me many, many times to bring me financial prosperity. As I will it, so be it. Simple prayer. So she said what that does is it actually energizes that tithe. So there's an energy of the tithe, but when you charge it with the stronger energy of a higher being, it actually becomes more powerful. So when you give it out as such, the return that comes back to you is more powerful. So that cash in hand will happen quickly. And some people might say, oh, I don't think it's very good to use prayer and these things to ask the higher beings for money. Well, this is a poverty consciousness again. Because what if we're asking for that money so that we can start to have abundance, so that we have something to give to people, that we can actually help people? How do people start centers? How do people do all these things? How do they start feeding programs if they have nothing in the beginning to give? It's because they figured out how to open that abundance channel for themselves so that they can give it out to others. It's not about hoarding. It's not about holding on for yourself out of fear. It's about giving back. And there has to be that intention underneath. So my teacher said that one of the important things when we give, he said we can tithe in certain ways for certain returns. So if I were to give to my parents, who I have a huge karmic debt to because they raised me, he said that's the number one place, if your parents are alive, to tithe. It helps to balance that karma. Even if they have a hard time taking it, you just say, Mom and Dad, I'm going to give you this because it's actually for me. Please take this because it's for me. Secondly, is any kind of spiritual organization where what is received for the person attending are teachings that benefit the person lifetime over lifetime. So this could be meditation retreats, yoga retreats, plant medicine retreats, these sorts of things. Because what that person gains will pay off life over life over life over life. So when you give that out, you also receive the same back. Thirdly, if you have health issues, say you have issues with your kidneys, and this repeatedly comes up for you, if you tithe to the Kidney Foundation, this helps to alleviate the karma that you've accrued that's causing these issues in the first place. Yeah? So, last thing, my teacher always said, if you think about what you want to make in a year, are you being realistic? I want to make, $75,000 this year. Now, am I willing to give that as a tithe before I receive anything? And this is what he said you have to be willing to do. So he said on New Year's, January 1st, you write down what you want to make, and are you able to give that as a tithe at the beginning of the year to keep that flow going? You're actually planting the apple seeds to get apples instead of planting onions and hoping for apples, which is what a lot of people do. We're actually afraid to put out the initial leap of faith, which actually causes the root center to grow, which actually causes us to feel, you know what, I'm going to do this because I know it's going to come back to me. That light, that belief. And if we're able to broadcast that, that's something completely different. And that draws people to us. That draws opportunities towards us. Yeah? So I wish everybody well. I hope you go out there and make the tithe to somewhere, to someone, to something, especially in these times, because there's a lot of people out there that are going to need help right now. So all the best to you.